I now invite Her Excellency, Ms. Natalia Kanem, Executive Director of the United Nations Population Fund, to the rostrum.
Madam Chair, Votre Excellence, the President of the General Assembly, Su Excelencia, estimada y apreciada Vicepresidente de Colombia, Your Excellencies, Señora Ministra Aniele Franco, Joseph Hamilton, and Madam Secretary General of the Caribbean Community, Dr. Carla Natalie Barnett, incoming Forum Chair, Ambassador Martin Kimani, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, dear young people. I greet you in peace, always of concern for African people all over the world and the noble pursuit of the United Nations. It is an honor for me to join you at this esteemed forum since its establishment just a short 4 years ago. UNFPA has been present at every session, and that's a testament to our unflinching support for the crucial mandate of this forum. As a people, we have come to learn through history, our shared African history, that progress comes when we rise and demand long overdue justice. Referencing the great Frederick Douglass, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. And so the struggle for full freedom carries on. In this generation, spearheaded by the African Union and of course inclusive of its sixth region, its vibrant diaspora. For UNFPA, that means carrying on with our important work to uphold the dignity and the rights of women and girls of African descent, continually facing multiple and intersecting forms of discrimination and oppression, yet still contributing massively to shaping economies and cultures and scientific developments, including robotics, artificial intelligence, new mathematics, population studies, and so much more. M-Pesa, an African invention, revolutionized digital banking. Cell phones leapfrogged through African innovations as well. And now UNFPA is assisting countries to disaggregate data. Disaggregating population data by race and ethnicity helps us to lift the cloak of invisibility from groups too often left behind. Why? Because you cannot change what you cannot see. With UNFPA support, 22 countries in Latin America and the Caribbean now include race and ethnic self-identification in their censuses. And this is so essential in devising policies to end inequality and end discrimination. UNFPA addresses disparities in reproductive health because, as we know all too well, it is Black women and adolescent girls who are at much higher risk of maternal mortality and the consequences of adolescent pregnancy. This can change, and it should not take 5, 10, 20 years for that change to manifest, both within Africa and all around the world. Very exciting news, therefore, in partnership with PAHO, the Pan American Health Organization, and with the generous support of Luxembourg, UNFPA recently launched the Global Maternal Health Coalition for people of African descent. The first technical workshop of this coalition will take place later this year. And we're also pleased to partner on targeted interventions for the implementation of recommendation number 5 of the Committee of Experts for the Belém do Pará Convention. It calls on countries to end gender-based violence against women of African descent. Gender-based violence, it is an ugly, troubling epidemic now exacerbated by online toxicity directed at women and girls of African descent. And this forum will have a role to play in insisting that racism and sexism have no place in public dialogue, and that certainly includes the digital space. Let us take heart from last year's first ever commemoration of the International Day for Women and Girls of African Descent on July 25th, led by the governments of Brazil and Colombia. This is another important step towards uplifting people of African descent and advancing gender equality, because the beauty of Black women is undeniable. And it is our business to instill in every young girl an appreciation of her inner beauty and her inherent strength. Excellencies, dear partners, stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our forefathers sighed? Yes, we have arrived to this place, highlighted by the success of this forum, yet am I wrong to say that the road ahead is uncertain? We cannot wait to act to protect those hard-won gains that began from the moment of abduction from Africa through the Middle Passage up until today. Already, there is heightened pushback on progress that had been intended to level the playing field and improve the everyday lives of Black people in areas such as education, health, and employment. Already, we see all around the world attack on innocents whose only desire was to migrate to make a better life for themselves and their children. And meanwhile, on the continent of Africa, conflict and war are having repercussions far and wide. Now is the time to recommit to our quest for peace and equality. Now is the time for recognition, and now is the time to raise the demand for justice for all people of African descent. Excellencies, dear young people, I am my mother's daughter, and the drums of Africa still beat in my heart. These are words of educator and activist Mary McLeod Bethune. That drum invites us to dialogue, and I am delighted to invite all of you to an extraordinary moment of the drum that will take place this afternoon at 1:15 p.m. at the Ark of Return on the Visitors Plaza of the United Nations, which is now marking 10 years of that monument that is dedicated to the victims of enslavement. This permanent monument will be the site of sounds and rhythms of drums, drums that will connect us and guide our common heartbeats as we work together towards building a peaceful, equal, healthy, and just world for people of African descent and for all. Muchas gracias. Adelante.
I thank the Executive Director of the United Nations Population Fund.